Hello again, my fellow Jeti users, and in this video I'm going to look at transferring a model memory from one Jeti transmitter to another. We're going to take a memory from the 24, take it via the PC, and we're going to put it in this DS12. Okay, and the process of moving model memories is helped by the fact that the software in your transmitter is common right across the Jeti range. So 12, 14, 16, 24, they're basically all using the same software, as long as you're both up to the same version. There are some things to be aware of. Obviously, the transmitter that is going to get the new memory has to have the features and the number of features that the donating transmitter has. For example, if you've got a base level DS12 that you haven't paid for the options on things like logic switches, accelerometers, sequencers, and the memory that's coming into it from another transmitter has those things in the model memory, then obviously your receiving transmitter is just not going to be able to understand what's going on with them, and so those bits won't work. And you need to have the relevant number of features. For example, the DS24 has 10 sequencers, a DS16 has 6 sequencers. So if you've used more than 6 sequencers in your 24 and you try and put that onto a 16, then those sequencers aren't simply going to be there and they're not going to work. So you've got to have thoughts about things like that. Has the receiving transmitter got the relevant features, and does it have enough? Another thing to think about, of course, is Lua. If you've got a model memory that's got quite a lot of Lua scripts running in it, like say you have in a DS24, and you try and put that onto a 16 or a 14 that can just about handle one Lua script, then those simply aren't going to turn up, and you're going to have to deal with those in the receiving transmitter. Okay. Well, there's a few ways of transferring it, so let's go about getting our little 24 plugged in. So there we go. We connect its USB cable. It says, do we want to start the transmitter? Yes, we do. Connect USB. Yes, we do. And that's it. And the 12, we've already done the same thing. So exactly the same process as if you were going to be doing a transmitter firmware update up to this point. Okay, and now let's look at our PC. And what we have here is that the memory cards in the transmitters have appeared as USB drives. In this case, USB drive E is the DS12 because I plugged that in first, and USB drive F is the 24 because I plugged that in second. I've got them both plugged in at the same time. You don't need to. You can do one at a time. And if we open up drive F, which is the DS24, we can see the folders that are in there. And the folder that has your model memories, strangely enough, is called model. And there they are. They're all given a number by the transmitter itself, and then the file name is not the full name that you've got in your transmitter, it's just the first, looks like the first 4 characters. Okay, but you'll be able to work out from that what plane it is. So we'll have a go at transferring my Pilatus B4 over to the other transmitter. Now I've set it up so we can do a direct swap. However, you don't need to. You could, for example, email it. Simply go to your attachments, attach, up comes the box, select the relevant drive, model, and there we go. There's the one I want to send, so I could select that. And there we are, that model memory is now available as an attachment to be emailed to someone who can then simply download it into their transmitter. Okay, Let's go back to the file manager. Right, here we are in the list of models on the memory card in the 24. I could simply highlight the ones I want, copy them, create a new folder on the desktop of this PC or somewhere in its drive and paste them into it. And that way I could keep them for a while, and then I could plug in another transmitter, say the 12, and I could paste them, copy and paste them down onto there. But because I've got a couple of USB ports, we've got them both connected at the same time, so we can do a nice straightforward transfer. If we find our Pilatus B12, I can find that, it's finding the mouse, it's difficult. Here we go. Pilatus B12, we shall copy that. I'll come to the DS12, into its model folder, and I'll paste in there. And there we are. Number 12 Pila. Notice that it's sharing the number 12 with a model memory that's already on there. Doesn't matter too much, it's obviously a different file name. And when we switch on the transmitter and go to select it, we'll see that it actually renames it the next one up. So if we were to come out of here, go to the transmitter and then reconnect back on here, we'd see it had renumbered it as 14. So that's it. And that's the transfer of the file done. That's it. So we can come out of here, go to our DS12 and see what happens. Press the escape button, get it going. Now, let's go and select our Pilatus. Come down. And there it is, Pilatus B4. Let's put it in memory location 14. Now I'll select it and watch what happens. Warning, controls layout has changed. That's because the types of switches on this DS12 are different to the types of switches on my 24. I don't know if they're different as they come from the factory, but I modify the switch type of switches and the layout on my transmitter, so my 24 is going to be different to anyone else's 24 anyway. So basically what it's warning you is which ones have changed. So it's these three switches here, that one, and that one. Not surprising, this is a 2-position spring-loaded switch. On my DS24 I've changed it to a 3-position spring-loaded switch. So that's the type of thing it's warning about. So unless we want to switch off, we have to say OK to it. There's no other way to proceed. And it would go into this screen. Check the controls and functions. So what it's telling us is that P1, which is this stick here, P1, its function is the ailerons. Is that correct? Yes. We use the wheel to scroll down to P2, and it tells us that's the elevator. Is that correct? Yep. P3 is the rudder. Is that correct? Yep. And P4 I've assigned to being the function air brake. Is that correct? Yep. And if it could find anything else, it would list them as well. It would try and list dual rates and sounds on event and those kind of switches as well. So we're happy with that. We say OK to that. Check pre-flight position of controls. That's because being my air brake, I have a startup check for the air brake in the off position. And there we go. We appear to be ready to go. But you do need to check things thoroughly. Let's have a little look. If we go in here, I'll have a look at the servo monitor. Okay, the top two are my ailerons, then channel 3's elevator, channel 4 rudder, and finally my air brakes. Let's have a look what happens. So if I move my aileron stick, the top two should move. That's looking good. Next, channel 3 would be elevator. That's looking good. Channel 4 would be rudder. That's looking good. And the next two would be my air brake. Yep, so that's all looking good so far. What else? Well, remember it warned us that these three switches are different. Have I got anything on those three switches? Well, the interesting thing was that if you go into Functions Assignment and you press the Tools button here, it will bring back that screen that shows you what's assigned. And it's not found that there's any dual rates, sounds on event, anything like that that comes off the switches. So the only one left to check, I'll apply the changes, yeah, is I happen to know in timer sensors that I've got voice output on the repeat switch. So we go into sensors and variables. I've got the voltage in the antenna coming off there. But because I use a 3-position spring switch here and it's got a different switch, it's just not knowing what to do. So we just go into there, cancel that, clear it out, move it again, say OK, and it's all happy now. Okay. Obviously, with a more complex model, you're going to have to do a lot more checking of the switches. But basically, as I said, as long as the receiving transmitter has the features and the relevant number of features, then the memory will work, and it's just a case of checking for things like your switches.